Welcome back. You're watching HFO-TV. HFO-TV is co-sponsored by J.R. Johnson LLC, specialists in multifamily restoration and repair work. Gantry Incorporated, the nation's largest independent mortgage banking firm.
Welcome back to HFO-TV. I'm Greg Frick, partner at HFO Investment Real Estate. And today we have with us back again John DiLorenzo, partner at Davis Wright Tremaine. He's actually coming to us from Washington, D.C. So, John, thanks again for taking the time to speak to the audience again and give us a little update on some litigation that had done in the past. And, we're just coming out of the session with the Oregon legislature, so we'll get an update on some of the bills that have gone through. So, again, John, thanks for taking time out of your busy day while you're moving and shaking in Washington, D.C.
Well, thanks, Greg. I really appreciate it. It's always a pleasure to be on this podcast with you.
Oh, thanks. So I know we talked, fair access in the city of Portland, and I know you're instrumental in the fight against that. So maybe give an update for the people that, aren't doing it on a daily basis on the management, kind of what happened and, where we are. Then we'll get into some of these other ones as well.
Well, one of the problems that are facing owners and tenants and anyone who actually wants to avail themselves of downtown and the inner city is the prevalence of tent encampments on sidewalks.
Right.
And, the problems are multiple because they scare away customers, they scare away tenants, they are in many cases threats to tenants. And they are just inhumane and horrific ways to deal with people who are homeless. Right. The policies by the city or by the county, which are requiring people who are hopelessly drug addicted and mentally ill to have to wait 5 years for permanent housing, basically condemns them to an early death on the streets.
That's not really a solution.
No, it's not a solution at all. And,
no
matter what you think of the propriety of having people who don't know how to care for themselves be placed in brand new housing, that's one thing.
That's right.
To make them wait for 5 years on the streets is just untenable. So we were trying to figure out a way that we could be helpful. And, the business community had resources, but absolutely no legal theories other than accusing the city and the county of incompetence. And of course, courts will not provide you a remedy for that.
They may agree, but there's not a lot they're going to do with that.
Yeah, right.
Yes.
right. But I was invited, you may know her, Tiffany Hammer, who asked me to visit one day with a number of people at the Society Hotel, all of whom were in wheelchairs. And
right.
I had to navigate down 4th Avenue around tents and was just wondering, oh my goodness, what would people in wheelchairs have to do? And they explained to me just how horrific these conditions and these policies are for them. Here we have a group that want to be contributing members of society that cannot even leave their units and as much as buy a tube of toothpaste without having to commingle into the traffic with
right.
their wheelchairs to get around all these tent encampments. And if you're blind, you have no idea where these encampments are day to day. And the people who are dwelling in the tents think you're attacking them if you're hitting them with a stick, just trying to move around. And so it was not only humiliating, it was just horrific. So we put our thinking caps on and read some cases in the Ninth Circuit that stood for the proposition that the city has an obligation to maintain its sidewalk transportation system, and to the extent it allows it to be blocked by major obstructions, it is in violation of the Americans with Disabilities Act. And so on behalf of 10 very courageous people in wheelchairs and suffering from vision disabilities, we filed a suit against the state, or against the city. Along the way, discovered that Multnomah County had spent $2 million of our taxpayer money to put 20,000 tents and 60,000 tarps onto the streets.
And you were the instrumental in the one that, because that was the freedom of information on this case, right?
Well,
to have that released.
I mean, once we had a case going, we had subpoena power. And so we discovered a lot of this. That all led to a settlement with the city that has just been ratified by the city council. So starting July 1, for a full 5-year period, the city will prioritize removal of encampments from sidewalks. It defines sidewalks as 6 to 10 feet in width, or if the sidewalk is less than that, then the entire sidewalk. It includes access to mass transit stations. For the 5-year period, the city has to devote 40% of all of its campsite removals to sidewalks. This to maintain 24-hour reporting hotlines and websites that will allow anyone to effectively report sidewalk obstructions. In fact, I just heard today that TriMet is going to be arming its drivers with the app, and is going to.
So they'll be able to report as they're driving.
As they're driving to show where they are. It will create an opportunity for anyone who is disabled to request an ADA accommodation to prioritize those removals to the top. It will require city staffers or contractors to assess these campsites and visit them within 5 business days of the report. It'll consolidate all the data so anyone, you, me, any member of the public, can track the reports and see what's happening with them.
And that's July 1st it starts?
Starting July 1st, it'll ensure that employees and contractors who engage in removals will instruct those who are displaced that they cannot relocate on sidewalks. It'll post no camping signs in frequently obstructed areas. It'll extend the ban to city employees and contractors handing out tents. It's a $20 million deal. So at minimum, it'll require the city to devote $20 million to cleaning up these sites. And
John, was it just the city, or does the whole county get roped into that? Or is it right now just the city limits?
It's just the city limits. It's just the city. The county is intransigent. Actually, the city is actually on the right course at this point. They want to provide opportunities for people to get treatment and to reside for at least a temporary time in sanctioned camping areas away from the downtown and the neighborhoods. But you can't convince the county of that. The dissonance between the county and the city is absolutely outrageous.
Have you ever seen it this bad?
Never.
Between the county and the city?
Never.
And you've been actively involved in, city county stuff, for decades. And as I've heard that repeatedly, that just the dysfunction it's really sad because the dysfunction's hurting the people that are in need.
Yeah, well, absolutely. And, the county's, emphasis on what they call harm reduction is really enabling. And that's all they're doing, so. But
do you have hope with the new people in the county? Is that changing? With the new leader in the county? Do you see that coming? I know, like you said, there's definitely been a change in the rhetoric from the city, but do you see that in the county coming? Or?
Well, we've got Sharon Mirren, who's always been an advocate for treatment first, and Julie Brim Edwards is also an advocate for that. Vega Peterson, who's the new chair. The jury's out on where she is right now. She's no Kafori, but she's not a Julie Brim Edwards either. So we'll just kind of have to see where we are.
Well, it's a little disappointing that it had to get to this state that we're to make things get to some kind of positive direction. It's you've got to threaten with a lawsuit on a lot of stuff, which is not the best way to govern, but it just seems to be where we are.
Well, we were able to do that, and we're going to obtain our attorney's fees from the city, and we're going to, actually, it's a 5-year deal supervised by the federal courts, and if we have to go after the city again, we get our fees again. So I think I think we're pretty excited. I think
Oh,
the
definitely.
mayor certainly negotiated in good faith. And so I have to say that I think Ted Wheeler's on the right course on this one.
Well, that's good to hear. Now, could other cities use this judgment, kind of doing the same thing, following the same
Yeah,
track?
I think it's a model that could be used for any West Coast city that wanted to address this because, sure, there are going to be homeless encampments in other public places, but
Right.
to us, the priority was get them off the sidewalks so people with disabilities can use them and get from point A to point B.
Right. And
That'll
try to live
help
their
everyone
life.
else
Yeah.
too.
Our entire office specializes in multifamily real estate, making HFO the largest multifamily brokerage in the Pacific Northwest. Your success is our passion. Build your legacy with HFO. Call 503-241-5541 or visit our website at hfore.com for more information.